What's going on, family? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? It is Elijah Jordan here. And listen, I wanted to give y'all a word on today. I wanted to talk to y'all about your belief system and about the vision matrix, which I'll be getting to explaining to y'all exactly what that is in a moment here. It's basically just the vision matrix is basically just another word for the blueprint that God has for your life. All right. It's who you are now, who you're becoming, and who God intended for you to be, and being able to order and align all of these things so that you can advance into destiny. Okay. Now, what God wanted me to remind y'all at the very beginning of this teaching, He wanted me to let y'all know, He wanted me to speak this to y'all. You already have everything that you need. Some of you, you're trying to build a business, you want to build a brand, you want to build a platform, you have a vision for your life, but you're like, man, I don't have this, I don't have the tools, the resources, the provision, the access, the connections. God says you already have everything that you need. Okay. You have everything that you need to become a millionaire, and you have everything that you need to build a brand, a business as big as you want to build it. Why is that? Because regardless of what your current circumstances or your current conditions look like, God has already placed a gift and a potential and a vision within your spirit, man. There's a potential that we've been talking about that's untapped, right? And once you tap into that thing, the Bible says that your gift will make room for you and bring you before what? Before great men. The Bible also says that kings will come to the brightness of thy rising, meaning there's already something within you that if you tap into that thing and you start to embody that thing, it's going to shift and rearrange circumstances, even in the natural realm, to align you with the right people, places, opportunities, resources, favor, all of that stuff. It starts to align itself for you when you embody this thing. And that's what some of y'all need to realize. So you already have everything that you need. Somebody needs to speak that, decree it, and declare it over their lives today. And you need to begin to believe that. All right. Not because of luck or anything like that, but because of what God has placed within you. And you need to start also, every time you have a bit of doubt or fear, start taking scriptures and start reinforcing the promises of God that come from His word. Because the only difference between you and the person that's already doing what you want to do is the fact that they're either thinking differently, they're doing something differently, they're believing differently, or they're using their time differently. That's it. That's literally it. So 10 years from now, you could be playing at a completely different level, and you can build a business as big as you want to without compromising your value, compromising the standards that God has for you. All right. Anything is possible when your belief system matches your identity and matches your assignment. Anything after that, that momentum, the enemy can't do anything to stop that. So watch this. The millionaire mindset is about possibility, being able to see the possibilities that other people overlook. So people hear things like, um, well, I made $1 million last year. People hear things like, well, I made 100,000 last month. And they're like, man, that's crazy. I don't know how I'll be able to do that. But people are doing this all the time. And there are more people in this generation than ever that are becoming millionaires just online. So the only difference is, again, they're believing differently, thinking, or using their time differently. So the problem is that we underestimate what we're able to do in the next 10, 15 years of our lives because we're so focused on and worried about what our current circumstance looks like. And we're so discouraged by what we're not able to do in one day. Like, well, I can't build a business that makes $100,000 a month in one day. Well, God never told you to do that in one day. But because you're focused on that part, it's discouraging you from taking the little micro steps, micro habits, and micro decisions that lead to the big success in the next 10 years. All right. So if you don't believe it'll happen, you won't start taking the steps. Allow God to deal with your belief on today. All right. Stop focusing so much on what you can't do right now. All right. Or the fact that you can't make 100,000 a month right now, but start focusing on the little steps, the little micro habits that you can implement into your everyday routine that'll take you there. Because success, when you see all these great people in life, it didn't just come overnight. It came from the little things that they implemented every day, the habit stacking, all of that stuff. And you see their success now, but you don't realize it took them 10, 15 years to build what they built. You see their success now and where they're at now, but you don't realize that for the first 5, 6 years of their life, they worked and worked with no results. But guess what? The willingness, the grit, the relentlessness to keep going and persevering through the moments where everyone else would choose to quit. So if you don't believe that you can do it, it's because of a couple things. Number one, your inputs are off. You don't have enough exposure or proximity to what's actually possible. And so when someone sees another person doing something great or extraordinary, a lot of times you either get inspired by it or you get cynical about it. And cynicism is basically, it's a self-imposed ceiling. It's a worldview that says, well, if I can't do it, nobody else should be able to do it. Don't be one of these people, and especially don't listen to people who believe because they can't do something that you can't do it. Remove these people with the quickness. And if you are one of these people, allow God to deal with that mindset and that belief system, because you'll end up becoming one of those people that tries to kill the dreams of others. And there's already enough things in this world and society that are trying to take us out already. Don't be the reason for somebody's discouragement or trying to destroy somebody's dreams. Be the reason that you're able to awaken and activate the dreams in the life of somebody else. All right, for something greater. So proximity without judgment is how you grow. What do I mean by this? Trying things, being able to look stupid without criticizing yourself, and then also putting yourself around people who are doing bigger things and not hating on them, not shrinking, not comparing yourself to them. Let their success teach you something and show you what's possible. And remember, their anointing is not a threat. It's a blueprint for what you can accomplish as well. So be inspired. Don't be jealous of them. You'll end up blocking your own blessings. So what I mean by proximity without judgment is when you put yourself around people who are doing better than you, right? Don't allow it to discourage you and be like, oh, well, I ain't like them. Well, I'm not as good as them. Well, there was a time in life where they probably thought the same thing. And so you need to realize that, all of the greats in life, the greatest people in the Word of God, the greatest world leaders of today, of back then, none of them had this, they did have a level of confidence that had to be built up, but none of them had this level of confidence to where they never felt fear or insecurity. A lot of them felt fear. A lot of them had the same insecurities. They have the same inadequacies that you deal with now. But it was the ability, the willingness to show up and to continue to deal with those things, to reflect on those things, right? The willingness to choose and execute, even in the midst of pressure, even in the midst of feeling like I'm not good enough for this. That's what separated them from the rest of the world, all right? Now, the next thing is that a lot of you're exhausted. So when you're living a life that was not meant for you, okay, when you're operating in an identity in a life that you weren't called to, you're going to keep working, but you're not going to see the results of it, because you're not aligned. What this does, it causes exhaustion. You're in survival mode. You're burnt out. And most of your belief issues are not just spiritual, but they can be neurological as well, or they manifest neurologically. What do I mean by this? When you're tired, everything feels like a crisis. You can't see opportunities clearly because you're so focused on being worried, being anxious. You're so focused on worst case scenario that everything feels like a catastrophe. When that happens, your issues begin to expand. And really, it's just your perspective. It's not even always the issue itself. It's your perspective. So when you make your obstacles bigger than what they are because you're catastrophizing them, the greater things God has for you and the possibilities that he's trying to put right in front of your face, those things become smaller and you tend to overlook them. You can't think clearly. You can't dream big. So therefore, you can't even make quality decisions, right? Because the only way for your faith to grow is for you to use it. The only way for your belief system to change and for your issues to become less is to keep your eyes focused on Christ, and for you to keep your eyes and your mind and your words, even the words that you speak, focused on the prophetic words, the promises of God. Okay, even in the midst where your current conditions look like you have every reason to complain. Confuse the enemy, confuse the spirit realm by showing gratitude and focusing on the positive anyway. It'll shift your mental and your emotional state and change how you decide and how you pursue. So I just really quick, right, want to talk about people. I'm not trying to give some history lesson or something like that, but I like to study some of the greats and some of the world leaders, people like Winston Churchill, even people like our old president, Abraham Lincoln, right? These people weren't superhuman, but they were resilient. They made quality decisions repeatedly, even under pressure. How did they do this? They built resilience through repeated pressure. Both men, they lived through seasons of their lives where the stakes were literally life or death for entire nations. It's profound. Lincoln led during the Civil War. Winston Churchill, he led during World War II. So every single day of their lives, especially when they were leading at this level, it brought uncertainty, it brought fear, it brought constant criticism from everybody around them, sometimes even the people that they were leading, right? Impossible decisions, national pressure, emotional exhaustion. But instead of collapsing, they still kept deciding. They still kept showing up. Resilience is built through repetition, not comfort. So they didn't avoid pressure, but they learned how to operate inside of that pressure. They made decisions even when they didn't feel ready. That's one of the things I wanted to remind my people on today. Stop waiting until you feel ready. If you wait until the very moment you feel ready and the most motivated, guess what? You're going to wait 10, 20, 30 years from now. You're going to wake up one day old and be like, man, it's too late. Stop waiting for clarity. Stop waiting to be ready. Churchill and people like Lincoln, they acted their way into clarity. Okay? Because even if they acted or they decided and they failed or made the wrong decision, that brought even more clarity because now they know what to do and what not to do. You got to learn how to just go and make mistakes and learn from your failures along the way. That's how great people become great. That's how they build resilience, and that's how they learn how to thrive in the midst of pressure. That's how they learn to have the wisdom to know how to lead nations. So they understood, if I wait until I feel perfect, the moment's going to pass me up. They made decisions, tired, discouraged, overwhelmed, under attack, misunderstood. They made decisions while they were afraid. In every decision, it strengthened their internal capacity because they were exposing themselves to the things that were very discomforting and hard for most people. So resilience, it grows when you choose action over hesitation. Somebody say, I'm coming into a season of my life where I'm going to choose action. I'm going to choose to execute. I'm going to choose purpose over hesitation. I'm going to initiate without hesitation. Come on, somebody. They developed emotional endurance. Both of these men, and this should encourage you guys here too. This should give you guys hope. Both of these men were world leaders, right? You guys feel inadequate. Oh, I battle anxiety, depression. Both of these men battled depression, anxiety in some type of internal darkness. Every great person does. But instead of allowing it to consume them, they learned how to do what? They learned how to regulate their emotions, stay steady under pressure. They separated their feelings from their decision making, and they kept moving even when they felt discouraged. So they didn't necessarily deny their emotions, but what you do is you take your emotions, you feel them, you process them with God, you release them, and then you gain mastery and authority over them. This is what creates resilience, and this is what creates the authority and the wisdom to know how to overcome and to make the right decisions and to move everything forward as far as your vision or whoever you're leading. They surrounded themselves also around strong minds. Neither man led themselves alone or led nations alone. They surrounded themselves around people who disagreed with them and around people who would continue to challenge them. Why is that? Because when you have a group of mentors and strong thinkers around you, when you're not thinking logically, these people can hold you accountable. Therefore, iron sharpens iron, baby. So you can make better and sharper decisions when you have higher quality people around you. It'll change your entire life. Do not run from correction and accountability, because if you do, you'll stay where you're at the rest of your life. So they understood that my decisions and the quality of my life, the quality of my leadership is going to improve if I surround myself around other quality thinkers and leaders. So resilient leaders, they don't isolate themselves, but they build proximity to other people who have strength. That's accountability, y'all. Somebody say, I'm taking accountability now. They kept their vision bigger than their feelings. Okay? People like Lincoln and Churchill, they weren't fighting for ego. They weren't fighting for themselves. They were fighting for an entire nation. They were fighting for the survival of freedom. So when your vision is bigger than your emotions, you don't collapse under pressure. And this is why I told you guys before about making your vision bigger and bringing it closer to you. Because when you write your vision out and you make it plain, and you write down the steps, the small goals, the principles, when you write down the short-term and the long-term vision, and you continue to read it, decree it, and declare it, you start to make that thing amplified so that it becomes bigger than your issues. So even when issues arise, because you've already instilled yourself with the vision, you're able to execute regardless of how you feel and regardless of the chaos that the enemy is trying to induce into your life. This is self-mastery, y'all. This is a place where kingdom people really truly learn how to have authority. Not just say, oh, because I'm a believer, I have authority, but you embody authority. So you're effective. You're able to move things. Come on here. They practice faith, courage, and endurance daily. So resilience is not built by a moment, but it's built in a rhythm. Okay, so people like Lincoln, they wrote, they prayed, they reflected, and they journaled daily. Churchill, he read, he strategized, he mentally rehearsed the outcomes that he wanted to see. So when you write and you reflect, right, and when you pray daily, all of this self-reflection, it allows you to have more clarity and wisdom on moving forward, right? How to move, right decisions to make, all of that stuff. So this is how they strengthen their internal world every single day so that so that when they went into places of leadership, because they were regulated, they were able to regulate the environment around them and keep everybody steady. This is, y'all, this is strategic leadership right here. It's a muscle. Faith is a muscle. Resilience, it's a skill. Belief is a choice. You have to exercise all three of these things every day of your life. The next thing, you must become obsessed with learning. Be in love with learning. Read books, write books, study the greats, study the word, okay? Expose yourself to the impossible. Study human nature, study psychology, right? Study business, study leadership. Because once you realize, all right, that I have a decision to make, I am accountable. And also, once you realize no matter what anyone does to me or what happens to me, I have the knowledge, the authority, the ability to change my situation, and nobody can stop that, you'll realize no matter what anybody does, they cannot kill me. Life cannot kill me, only if I let it. I am unkillable. Somebody shout out right now, even put it in the comments, I am unkillable. And once I realize this and come to this conclusion, the fight is going to change. The fear is going to break off of my life, and I'm going to go with explosiveness. I'm going to go with explosiveness, and this is when the entire game is going to shift from me, and I'm going to become unstoppable.